Today we are joined by Frank Berry, director of Michael Inside, the new prison drama starring David Flynn and Mo Dunford. Frank, thanks for coming in.
Pleasure.
I suppose the first question I wanted to ask you was, I know a lot of the work you've done is very, very researched, but I'm wondering, where precisely did the initial kind of, inspiration come from Michael Inside? And what was it about, prison stories in Ireland that made you want to kind of, really create the definitive one, I think?
Well, thank you. I got the idea for the film when I was making my last film.
Right.
So I spent 2 years working in Tala, and I met a lot of a great community of people. We made a film about youth mental health, and that's where I met David, actually.
Yeah.
But I got to know an awful lot of the young people there, and I suppose when you spend a lot of time somewhere, you do a lot of listening, and I sat looking at the world from the point of view of a lot of young people that I met who were great young people, but you ask them questions and listen to their outlook on the world and their vision of their lives. There were some lives, some people that inspired me. I felt that they some of the young people I met may have left school early.
Yeah.
Didn't really see their lives in any kind of big picture, couldn't really see where they were going, didn't have a view of what their prospects were. And I just felt that due to the circumstances of the environment they're growing up in, there's criminal activity taking place around them at times, that they're vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so I thought the more traditional drama, where gangsters are at the centre of the nucleus of the story, that there's this another story here where we turn the camera away from what's more traditionally focused on in these stories, and we actually tell the story of a young lad on the outskirts of the group who doesn't want to be a criminal. I didn't really want to give criminal characters the attention. I instead, it's just the idea to make the film was that, this is a really, really valuable story to see the ripple effects of that activity. So he gets somebody who gets affected by other people's activity in the area, who is impressionable and makes the decision to hold a bag of drugs, basically. For his friend's older brother, and it's a decision that's kind of almost invisible to him. He doesn't really even notice he's made the decision.
Yeah, it's all, and even though that's actually, it's funny you say that, because when I was watching it, it's like when the police turn up to take him away, you're kind of like, oh, hang on, what was it for again? Oh yeah, it was just for that thing. It was so inconsequential.
That's exactly it. Is that he's just not clued in to everything that's going on. Who's talking to who? He was told to move it, and he says, I was going to. Yeah,
he just forgot about it, kind of thing.
And so there's all this stuff going on. So he's impressionable, and of course young, and not the key elements of the story. So that was the initial impulse. And then I thought, okay, well, there are a lot of young people who are vulnerable like that, who become part of the prison population, and it's just an opportunity to explore the penal system, to explore the lives of very, very real lives in Ireland, and to look at a path that a lot of people go on. So that's when I contacted the Irish Prison Service, and they directed me to Pathways, which is the CDETB's film or prison education program. And I started researching then. I brought this idea to the former prisoners.
And what did they make of it?
Well, they responded to it quite enthusiastically. They said that this is a story that they recognise as being either their story, in that they did something early in their lives, not really aware of the consequences, or they started taking drugs at a point in their lives, and the trajectory of their lives changed by a degree or something, and every day that goes by they get farther from the path they were on. And so they either resonated with it in their own lives, or they recognized it in the lives of people that they spent time with in prison. And we just had a shared conviction in terms of the importance of telling this story that's just not your typical crime story.
Because it's the funny thing of I know David Simon kind of went into this a bit in The Wire, in the sense that is prison actually, for drug offences and what have you, is it actually a rehabilitative process? And in Michael Inside as well, it's not really a case of, he goes in and he learns something about himself and he comes out a new man. It's more just he has been sent in there to waste time almost. And I'm wondering, was that a deliberate choice, or was that a case of, from what the people in the Irish Prison Service, was that what they told you? Was that what they're kind of said? No, it's really like this. I mean, what was that kind of part of it?
Yeah, well, there's lots of theories, lots of research, and lots of progressive work going on in the prison service. And I went to a lot of open days and discussions and classes on criminology in Pathways, and listened to everything. The film is an expression of the experiences of the prisoners that I worked with. But what came out of those conversations was their feelings about the circumstances of their convictions, their time in prison, and really importantly, how it affected them when they left prison. Prison is punishment, of course. So it also has a function as rehabilitation. So whether that's successful or not is an ongoing debate in criminology all the time. But I thought this film, I got very kind of excited during the research of this film when a lot of the former prisoners were talking to me about how it feels to know that a prison term is likely, or is a certainty, and that's when they say that prison begins really mentally. So we started talking about their mental health, and then we started talking about how do you feel when you leave prison and you have done the time, you go back to the community that led you there in the first place. Yeah. What's your self-image? Do you know what is how do you feel about yourself? And so those conversations were really kind of they were just very rich in opinions and detail and experiences. So the film kind of became a story of the lead up to a prison experience, the experience itself, and then how it affects Michael when he leaves. So it very much comes from the former prisoners, what they wanted to say.
Yeah. In terms of the screenplay, and I guess like the dialogue as well, because again, I mean, it's the one thing that I would really say about this film, and you've, as you say yourself, it's authentic. It comes from real experiences. It comes from, that environment, what these people went through. Did you have like a specific like lines of dialogue, or was it kind of improvised not improvised, but sort of ad-libbed from scene to scene, or how did it work?
Yeah, it was all written. I started the film with an idea about the Michael and Frances. Yeah. So this family relationship was something that I thought of while I was making my last film, and just it's a relationship that never left me. It's one I've seen over the years, and so I took this into Pathways, and I talked a little bit about Michael, and it really there's no shortcuts to this type of research, in that you just spend time, you get to know a lot of people, and over time you establish trust and a relationship, and then people start to share, and they can if when they understand the purpose of the film, that actually they have an opportunity to say something that might benefit a film that could actually have a purpose in the world.
That it's not exploitative, like.
That's not exploitative. They start to share, and so I would just listen and take notes, and somebody one day would say, your sentence only starts when you're released, and these things that you don't know what the resonant lines are going to be when you're writing the script until they find an audience, and then people say them back to you. But it was always that process of listening, taking notes, and then just organically things find details and lines and find their way in. Yeah.
In terms of actually filming, I mean, again, it is one of those films, I think, that, the environment that it's in is as much a kind of character in the story as, Daffod or Mo or any of the actors. Can you talk a little bit about how you shot it, in the sense of like, did you want to kind of get, the claustrophobia? Did you want to show the I guess the vastness of the prison and how they were tiny parts in it? I mean, what was your thinking, in terms of cinematography?
Well, my first film, we shot every scene in the one shot. Yeah. So I I wanted there to be a reality, a realism in that they were all non-professional actors, so I didn't want to treat them like kind of like actors in a way where we were just going, okay, we'll do this and then we'll do this, and I wanted
blocking it like a hit your mark.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wanted there to a sense of capturing an uninterrupted time frame, and then when those scenes are combined, it'll have a power in terms of realism.
Yeah.
So I took this idea into Michael Inside, where I wanted to cover the scenes in a similar way, so that we are feeling that there's something there's a realism, you know.
Yeah.
And then so that was the starting point, and then with Tom Comerford, a wonderful DOP, and Colin Campbell as well, our editor. We evolved it, by bringing in some montage sequences, to showing the committal process and the release as well. And there's a number of those sequences in the film. But it was all those aesthetic choices are to try and enhance a sense of realism. So we end up with a film that people can look at and recognize as one that reflects the world that we live in. So perhaps it might have an opportunity to be used to discuss issues.
Have you screened it for people in Pathways and for them so far?
Yeah, we did. We screened it. I think it was before Christmas.
Right.
Yeah, it was great. It was one. I mean, I think they knew it was a feature film,
Sure.
and actually a lot of them were on set, so they were special extras. Some of them had some acting responsibility. But it's always a bit of a shock when you see a feature film, you know.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of pride in it. I think the phrase I get a lot is it's very real, and there is a lot of pride. I think the film does deliver what they hoped it might,
Yeah. Okay, Frank Berry, we've got to leave it there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.